Before starting our presentation, we've prepared short quiz for you. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Identify the elements of design. And here are the answers. To further understand the elements of design, we should listen and learn from the reporters. Without further ado, let's start.
Hi everyone, I am Ellah, Rayne, Kilario, and I will discuss the texture, space, and color in the elements of design. So first is texture. Texture refers to the surface quality of an object, and it can be both visual and tactile. In design, texture adds depth and tactility to a composition, creating visual interest and enhancing the overall look and feel of the design. So there are two types of texture: visual texture and tactile texture. Visual texture refers to an implied texture. The surface of the actual artwork remains smooth, but the image on that smooth surface may look bumpy, rough, scratchy, velvety, etc. While tactile texture refers to how the art surface physically feels, like rough, smooth, bumpy, scratchy, etc. For example, in this picture, imagine you have in front of you this painting of a cactus. The artist has taken a 3D object, a cactus, and painted it on a smooth canvas. They have added visual texture by making the cactus appear sharp and prickly, yet the canvas feels smooth. Now imagine that you have a real cactus in front of you. It is a 3D object and it is sharp and prickly to be touched. When you pick it up, it jabs your skin, and this is tactile texture. Next is space. Space is the area within or around objects. It can be positive, occupied by elements, or negative, empty space around and between elements. In design, space is used to create balance, contrast, and hierarchy, and it influences the overall composition and visual flow. For example, in this picture, if you are seeing a vase, then you are seeing the white area as the positive space. The black areas becomes the negative space, and if you are seeing faces, then you are seeing the black area as the positive space and the white area as the negative space. Next is color. Color is one of the most fundamental elements of design. It can evoke emotions, convey messages, and create a visual interest. In design, color can be used to attract attention, create contrast, or establish a mood. For example, in a graphic design project for a new restaurant, warm colors like red, orange, and yellow might be used to create a lively and energetic atmosphere, while cool colors like blue and green could be used for a calming and relaxing ambience. Understanding the importance of color, space, and texture enables designer to craft compositions that effectively communicate messages, evoke emotion, and engage their audience.
Good day everyone, and today we're going to tackle about lines, shapes, and forms. So first is lines. So what is lines? So lines are the most basic elements of design, where they connect 2 points and are the foundation of creating shapes and forms. So in lines, there are 8 different kinds of lines. First is what we call the horizontal lines. What is horizontal lines? So they often convey a sense of calmness and stability. For instance, I think of a landscape painting where the horizontal lines of So next is what we call the horizontal lines. So they often convey a sense of calmness and stability. For instance, think of a landscape painting where the horizontal line of the horizon creates a peaceful sunset scene. So that is what we call the horizontal line. Next is what we call the vertical line. So this line suggests strength and structure. Imagine a series of vertical lines in a cityscape drawing representing a towering a skyscraper. So that is vertical lines. So next is what we call the diagonal lines, where they imply movement or action. For example, a superhero comic. Okay, a superhero comic book often uses diagonal lines to show the direction and speed of the hero's movement. Next is what we call the straight lines. So these are the direct and efficient. In graphic design, straight lines can be used to guide the eye or the organized information. So next is the curved lines. So they add a sense of softness and dynamic to its picture. So example, a picture of a children's book with illustration of rolling hills and wavy facts. So this made with a gently curved lines. Okay, so next is what we call the dotted lines. It often used to indicate guideline or a path that is not continuous. In a treasure map, so kailatag unsay treasure map, we used in our storybook. So dotted lines might show a road to treasure. So that is the dotted lines. Okay, next is what we called the broken line. So this suggests interruption or incomplete part of a design. Broken line could be used in a weather chart to indicate uncertain weather conditions. So muna siya ang broken line. So next is what we call the thick and thin lines. So the variation in line weight can be convey different emotion or importance. The significant. So a bold, thick line might be used to highlight or emphasize, while thin lines might be used for delicate or intricate details. So that's all for the lines. Next is what we call the shapes. So the shapes, we're very familiar about this. So what is shape? So shapes are defined by boundaries such as lines or color, and they are two-dimensional. So in shapes there are two. So sa lines there are 8 manod. Then sa shape there are two kinds, which is the geometric shapes. So these shapes include circles, squares, rectangles, and triangles. They are regular and structured. Okay, I will give an example. Think a children's book where the geometric shapes are used to teach basic math concepts. So like the books way back in our elementary years, we can see the geometric shapes for us to understand. So next is what we call the organic shapes. So in these shapes, these are irregular, often found in nature. Imagine a leaf pattern on a fabric design where each leaf has a unique and organic shapes. Okay, that's it for the shapes. So in application in creative projects in animation, you might see the use of the variant shapes to create lively characters with the geometric forms for the buildings and organic forms for the natural elements like trees and animals. So in a graphic design, a poster might use as a thick, bold lines to create attention to the main message, with the geometric shapes creating a sense of order and balance. So that's it for the graphic design, and next is for the interior design. So what we can do, so in the layout of a room might use straight lines for furnitures and arrangement, while in decorative elements might include organic shapes and forms to add interest and contrast. Understanding these elements is crucial for artists and designers that they form the basis of any artist and design work, influencing the feel, look, and message of the piece. So that's it for our discussion with the line forms and shapes.
Good day everyone, I am Audrey Madison and Lacno, and I will be tackling about the value and patterns in art. First, we will talk about the element of value in art. The element of value in art refers to the lightness or darkness of tones or colors used in an artwork. It is a crucial component for creating contrast, depth, and the illusions of form. Value helps artists convey a sense of light and shadow as well as the three-dimensional qualities of objects. For example, examples of art include chiaroscuro techniques used by artists like Rembrandt to depict dramatic light and shadow, as well as the use of value scales in drawing to represent a range of tones from white to black. So in summary, value in arts is about the contrast between light and dark, and it plays a fundamental role in creating visual impact and depth within a composition.
And now, let's proceed on principles of design. But before that, we need to identify the principles of design. Pause if you need more time. And here are the answers. And now, let's move on the discussion. So listen so that you can learn.
Hi everyone, it's Cathlene Eturma, and for today, I am going to discuss about proportion, scale, and harmony. But first thing first, I have a quote here that says, "Art is the light that enables us to realize the truth." This quote by Picasso beautifully captures the essence of art and its transformative power. Art has the ability to transcend reality and present a different perspective, allowing us to explore and understand truths that may otherwise remain hidden. It is through art that we can express our deepest emotions, challenge societal norms, and provoke thoughts and introspection. Let's talk about proportion. Proportion is a principle of design that refers to the size, scale, and relationship of different elements within a composition. It involves the harmonious arrangement of these elements to create a sense of balance and visual appeal. In design, proportion can be achieved through various techniques such as scaling, cropping, and placement. It helps to establish a sense of hierarchy, emphasis, and unity in a composition. An example of proportion can be seen in architecture. Consider the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. The Parthenon is an ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Athena. It is renowned for its exceptional proportions and harmonious design. The temple's facade features a series of columns that gradually decrease in diameter towards the top. This tapering effect creates an illusion of height and stability. The columns are also spaced evenly apart, maintaining a consistent rhythm throughout the structure. Next is harmony. Harmony is a principle of design that refers to the visual agreement or compatibility between different elements within a composition. It involves the arrangement of these elements in a way that creates a sense of unity, coherence, and balance. In design, harmony can be achieved through various techniques such as color schemes, repetition, and consistency. It helps to create a cohesive and pleasing visual experience for the viewer. An example of harmony can be seen in a well-designed interior space. Consider a living room with a cohesive color scheme and complementary furniture pieces. The color scheme consists of neutral tones such as beige, cream, and gray, creating a sense of calmness and balance. The furniture pieces are selected to complement each other in terms of style, material, and scale. They work together harmoniously to create an inviting and visually pleasing space. Now, let's proceed to the scale. Scale is a principle of design that refers to the size and proportion of elements within a composition. It involves the deliberate manipulation of size to create visual interest, emphasis, and hierarchy. In design, scale can be used to create a sense of depth, contrast, and impact. It allows designers to play with the relative sizes of different elements to evoke specific emotions or draw attention to certain aspects of a composition. An example of scale can be seen in a poster design. Consider a movie poster where the main character is depicted as significantly larger than the other elements on the poster. By increasing the scale of the main character, it creates a focal point and draws the viewer's attention. This technique is often used to emphasize the importance or significance of the character within the movie.
In art, the principle of pattern involves the repetition of shapes, lines, colors, or motifs in a deliberate and planned manner. Patterns can create rhythm, movement, and visual interest within an artwork. They can be regular and predictable or irregular and random, depending on the artist's intent. Examples of pattern in art include tessellations in Islamic art, the repeated use of floral motifs in textile design, and the rhythmic arrangement of geometric shapes in a mosaic. So in summary, the principle of pattern in art revolves around the deliberate repetition of visual elements to create a cohesive and visually engaging composition. So that's it for my discussion. Thank you for listening, and let's proceed to the next reporter.
Hi, I am Kristina R, Gilbuena, and I am going to continue discussing the principles of design. So the next one is contrast. So what is contrast? So contrast is two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. So we can see this on different aspects of life. We can see this on the museum. So there are a lot of artists using contrast to make highlight about their object. And also we can relate today to this because we are using contrast also in editing our pictures. So we use contrast to make focus, to make sure that the target of our picture or our art will be taken and also can have the spotlight. So there are four types of contrast, which is the value, the color, shape, and the texture. So let's discuss first about the value. So the value is a focus. So what it is recently said, we use contrast to make sure that our focus can have his spotlight. So that is what the value is, to give value on the art, to make sure that it can be seen. The value can be seen also. The next one is the color. So this is very basic on us, and we can all clearly see this everyone. So we use color, like example black, and then for the contrast of black, which is the white, so that they can have their own spotlight. So from dark to the light ones. So the next one is the shape. So the shape, if we use circle, we will use another shape, which is a triangle, rectangle, square, or anything that can contrast the circle shape. So the last but not the least is the texture. So when we say texture, that means how do we feel on the art. So it has the rough and smooth. So to clearly summarize the contrast, so it is just like antonyms. So like for example, the colors, so black, the antonyms for black is white. On the texture is smooth and rough. And on the other shapes, which is the circle, we can also have square or anything. And also the value, so the value is only specific, the focus. So I hope you learned, and on to the next types or principles of design. Hi, I'm back again, and now I am going to discuss the next principle of design, which is the emphasis. So from the word itself, emphasis, so we need to emphasize the art that we are making. We need to make sure that we give them a special attention, or we make sure that our main subject can be seen and can be focused, and we need to highlight them. So emphasis is used to attract a viewer's attention. So this is more likely the main subject of the art, and then the rest will be the background, so that it can give, or it can emphasize our main subject or our main point of the art. So that is just so simple about the emphasis. We just need to think the word emphasize. We need to emphasis. So we need to emphasize our artwork. We need to make sure that they are seen and they were not being covered by the background design or anything. So they are being the main subject. So that is the key for the emphasis. So lastly, I am going to tackle about the balance in principles of design. So balance is very important in design because we need to make sure that it can't outshine the others. So balance can make our art being organized or being equal to everyone. So we can see this on the way of lines, shapes, colors, textures that are arranged in a piece of art. So we can see this on our artwork also. We can relate to this, that it is very important to make sure that there is balance. So there are 3 types of balance, which is the line symmetry, radical symmetry, and asymmetrical balance. So the line balance is you have a guidelines, which is the center. So you need to make sure or form anything, but you need to make sure that it was being followed on the guidelines that you make. And the second one is radial symmetry. So when we talk about radial symmetry, so from the word radial, so it means circle. So there are a lot of circle designs, and we make sure that what is on the other side will be the same with the other side. And then on the last one is asymmetrical balance. So asymmetrical balance is different from the 2 symmetry. So asymmetrical balance from the word asymmetrical, so they are not the same. But the keyword for this is that visually equal without being identical. So when we look at it, so we have a first impression that it is not the same. They don't have the identical looks, but they are visually paired. So in art, there are really different perspectives that we need to consider. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you. And that's it for our video presentation. Hope your learnings will be applied on your future endeavors.